Welcome back to the Culture of Currency, where we have an amazing thing to get into today. You see a bunch of coins down here, silver bullion coins, all related to the sea. These are all fish. And today we get to get into one I got not too long ago. It's somewhat vintage, but somewhat not. Take a look at this. This is a 2016 coin. You see right here a Taluma, which is a tackle box that is significant, extremely significant to the Polynesian people, more especially the island of Tokelau. Those of you who have bullion coins from Tokelau will know that, but this is a fantastic coin. Take a look here. Is that not one of the prettiest scenes on a coin you have seen? That, of course, as it says, is a Hakula. Now, I will say, it says sailfish. I'm not sold that this is a sailfish. My research indicates that it might not be, and that's a little bit of an issue and a little bit not. Let's get into that right quick. So yes, the Hakula. So I've done some research, and I went into the ethnology of Tokelauan fishing lore from Atafu Atoll, which is in Tokelau, which talks about the native words for the different species of fish that would be found and caught there. Very interesting document. And there is a Hakula. And the Hakula, it says, are basically billfish. So marlins, swordfish, and of course, things like a sailfish. Because, as you can see, the sail of this fish is not very large, and sailfish, as you can see on this picture, have a giant sail, hence the word sailfish. They also have some coloration patterns and things like that that make me think this is not a sailfish, and in fact a marlin on this coin. So this word, probably not the best one to put. This looks more like a Pacific marlin. And I've actually gone through all of the different marlin species, and I do believe that this is going to be most likely a blue marlin. And the reason I say that, I mean, it could be a white marlin. We have the striping. It could be really one of those two because we see the stripes, and we also see the large, almost fatty tissue right here. I think it's fat and muscle that make up this bulge on the skull above the eye. That's not as pronounced on a sailfish either. So we have the fin that seems to be more marlin. We have the area above the eye, and we have the stripes, and really the thickness of the body gives you a pretty good indicator too. I'm obviously not a big time offshore fisherman, so I'm not positive on that, but luckily for my research, this word right here tends to refer to billfish because they would have caught these on occasion over there in Tokelau, but it's probably not something that they happened upon too often. So my guess is, they would have been varieties of the Hakula that they would have maybe had different names for, but this technically does Hakula comprise also marlin, though the sailfish might need some work. For example, this is the Cayman Islands, and this is also a marlin. Notice how thick the head is there. Smaller sail right there. We have some striping going on. Beautiful coin, by the way. And this coin is also a part of a series, which I thought I'd bring up. For example, Haku Hakulele right there indicates a lionfish, which, what do you know? When I referenced that with the ethnochronology of the Tokelau fishing lore, we found the Haku Hakulele was here. And what it says is the Haku Hakulele is the red firefish, which is one of the native terms for the lionfish. So excellent job on the Haku Hakulele. We also have this one right here, Hahave. Beautiful, which, according to the same document, is a flying fish. And what do you know? We have a flying fish. And we have our Taluma, as you can see. So these are also coins from Tokelau, which show off some amazing fish species. that are in line with our sailfish today. And there are a number of beautiful coins with fish on them. This is Montserrat, which is in the Caribbean, even though this is a blue-girdled angelfish, which technically is an Asian fish. Here we have another one of Tokelau. This is newer. They've removed the Tuluma, which makes me sad, but that's okay because we have a beautiful, beautiful fish here. And this is the Lau Phao, which is, as you see, the longfin bannerfish, or as some call them, the coronet fish. This is a fish that may be in a dentist office aquarium near you. So amazing, amazing things coming out of the nation of Tokelau. But we need to go ahead and put this coin on our 60-point scale to see if it is right for you, if you can find it and get your hands on it. I got mine at APMEX because they tend to have flushes of amazing vintage stuff that hits their market, and then they obviously turn it over to sell to the consumer. So I got this one not too long ago. It is a 2016, as you see, and it is gorgeous. And honestly, for 2016, I feel like the artwork really punches above its weight class, because back then things were a little bit more boring than we have today. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get to our scores. So when we look at the obverse of the coin, though it's fairly flat overall, it actually feels really, really balanced and well done. And I think it's because the queen is not huge. She's there and kind of in balance with this Tuluma, which really helps the eye kind of not have to compete for what it's looking at. We see the name here. We see Tokelau 2016, of course. We have our denomination and all the standard wordage we've come to know and love in bullion. So very simple here. I think it's quite enjoyable, though it does seem like there's a lot of negative space, but I guess because of the finish on it not being mirrored, it feels okay. So I'm going to give it an 8 for that. When we move to the reverse, we have, of course, our what I believe to be a marlin and not a sailfish. We're not grading on that yet, but we have the beautiful water, one of the coolest and most beautiful depictions of a marlin I have ever seen, or really a fish in general. The water is so hard to get correct on a coin, and it seems like the cascading current going on with the more energetic splashing in the foreground is just a beautiful thing to behold. It is immaculately gorgeous, and it seems like all the proportions are right. I can't even imagine trying to design something like this. So it is phenomenal. I score that an obvious 10. So very, very good job on that. Now we get to mintage. This is a coin which is got a fairly high mintage on it, which is probably why I got my hands on it and why you might be able to as well. It's sitting at 250,000 minted, which is rather high, but scores a 5 on our scale. And we get to cultural significance. Here is our cultural significance. Though sailfish is probably not right, Hakula does technically qualify for a billed fish, and the marlin would be one that they definitely would have caught on occasion, just like the sailfish would. The one that they probably wouldn't have caught on occasion is a swordfish, and most likely that's because the swordfish live in the pelagic zone, which is pretty far down, and we talk about traditional fishing for island people like this. My guess is they were not fishing 500, 700 feet down deep in the ocean, and then having to reel up a fish that was 200 and 300 pounds, and getting them to be able to carry that home. That probably wasn't happening. They were probably more on the shallower side of things, especially in an atoll, and fishing for things that were, 100 feet or less down, like these, that tend to be cruising fish going after smaller fish. So that being said, I think it is incredibly significant to the people of Tokelau. And so therefore, even though it says sailfish, and that's probably wrong, this is incredibly important. And obviously the native language is incredibly important, and the native word is accurate to the depiction, even if the English part is not. So I scored a 10, which brings us to collectability. Something like this, a beautiful fish that happens to be one of the biggest sport fish in the world, happens to be a immaculate design, is extremely, in my opinion, collectible, but it's not obviously on the tier of something like a koala, a kookaburra, or maybe Queen's Beast, anything like that. It gets none of the notoriety or marketing that those coins do either. Even the Lunar Series eclipses things like this by far. So that being said, it is fantastic, but it is going to be underperforming when it comes to collectability, I find, mostly because market exposure, marketing, things like that. So it does creep down a little bit to a 7 out of 10. And now we get to uniqueness. As you saw, I have things like this that have a marlin on them, but Tokelau, Hakula, beautiful. Like, I don't know. It seems like it is definitely something beyond itself, and it is more of a cultural piece than it is, for example, this Cayman Islands one, which, yes, Cayman Islands might have a marlin or two around their waters, but for some reason, because we know that this is culturally significant to the native people in a matter-of-fact way, that makes this feel a little bit more significant and unique. And so I'm going to say that this is probably sitting around a 8, which is going to give our total score for this beautiful coin a 48 out of 50. So that being said, what are the things that we look at? Well, this is something that I think everybody should consider if you happen upon it, because it is gorgeous. And for a 2016 piece, I think it is, like I said, definitely punching above its weight class. I think it is something that everyone can probably find some joy in. It's beautifully done. It's in a theme, in sea life and nautical type theme, that seem to be one of the most popular themes in bullion. But I want to know what you think. Is it right for your collection? If you have the opportunity to get this a couple of dollars over spot, would you pull the trigger? Let me know in the comments below. That is what we have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.